I've got the spots, the sickness. There's the twins in my brain.
There's only 1 week of racing left on the 2023 cycling calendar, but in this episode we will already look forward to 2024. Due to numerous circumstances, a lot of riders are still looking for a new team, and one of them is Ruben Apers. Welcome, Ruben.
Thank you.
How are you?
Pretty good. It's pretty busy for the last couple of weeks. I'm like one of the riders that still don't have a contract for next year. So try my best to find like a new contract. But it's a wild search to find something now, especially with like everything that's going on at the moment. So it's not an ideal situation.
I saw on your Twitter, I think a few weeks ago, you posted a tweet in which you said, I don't have a contract for next season. Any team slide into my DMs? Yeah. Did the team already slide into your DMs?
Well, I had some contact teams or just like some local teams that sent me a message like, hey, Ruben, like if you still want to keep riding your bike for fun or something, you can contact us. And I was like, okay, thanks. But at the moment I'm like trying to find or like I'm searching for a bigger team, like starting from like Pro Conti, World Tour, doesn't really matter. That's like the kind of teams I'm like searching on now.
All right, we'll get back to that. For those who are watching on YouTube, they might notice a minor background change. We're recording our podcast for the very first time in a professional studio. All credits to our Domestique Bram for that, but yeah, unfortunately couldn't join us due to sickness. He's feeling a little better, but Yves is still joining us today. Yves, there's only a couple of races left on the calendar for this season. Are you sad?
Well, sad. The season has been long for us, for the peloton as well, but I'm sad it's gonna end. But we all know in January it starts again with the 2 Down Under. So off-season will be quite short for us. So it's good to have a little break, but it can't be too long, of course.
There's still a monument coming this weekend. In Lombardia will be quite a special day for the two of us and for Domestique in general. Could you explain why?
Well, Domestique is known for its Domestique Live content. That's a live thread on Twitter or X, as we call it right now, where people can follow the race by seeing some small posts. So when they aren't able to watch the race, they can read what's happening and who wins the race. But on Saturday for Il Lombardia, we will mix it up and we will try to give some live commentary. So we will go live on X/Twitter/whatever, so people can hop in and listen to us talking for 6 hours.
Are you looking forward to that?
Yes, it's gonna be quite epic, I think. It's gonna be rough to talk 6 hours when the early break is gone. It's gonna be like, all right, I have to talk about something, but I don't know what. And we go through that city, then we have to look it up. So, but it's gonna be very nice, I think.
All right, that's for next Saturday. Let's dive into the matter of contract renewals and the level of difficulty of finding a new team these days. Ruben, between 2018 and 2020, you rode for the Lotto Soudal development team.
Yep.
Was there a reason why you couldn't join the Lotto Soudal Pro team in 2021?
Well, not like a particular reason, but it was like the period when John Longo was the leading role there. So it was pretty weird, like period for the team also. Because like our manager / DS Kurt van der Wouwer, he wanted to keep me. But like John Longo was like, oh no, we need like guys that can do like a full under 23 like racing calendar, because they weren't really interested to take me in like the World Tour team, because they had some other riders for that, and that's why I couldn't really stay there.
So basically you were too young? Or
no, too old actually. Too old,
they didn't believe in you, or?
Well, but it was because it was the first COVID year, so we didn't race that much, and also like the year before I had a pretty horrible accident, broke my leg and stuff. So I also didn't do like that much racing the year before. And like when I was second year under 23, like in summer I broke my collarbone and got some infections after. So I basically didn't really race a lot for like 2 seasons and a half, you know.
But you weren't able to get to races in top shape because you couldn't prepare for it.
That's true, because like before I broke my collarbone, I did like the baby Giro, and I think I was like 6th in the prologue there. And like if you see like the top 10 now, it's all like really big names, and then there's like me.
A big name as well.
Oh well, like not if you compare like my name to like all the other names. There's like all like riders that win races on the top level of cycling now, and then there's like this one Belgian guy. It's like, oh well, that's me.
Yeah, I look back at that squad selection or the roster of that team when you were there, and actually quite a lot of big names were riding together with you. Do you still have contact with them regularly, or friends?
You mean like the guys from Lotto, or just like in general?
the Lotto U21 team.
Oh well, some riders you like some of the riders you see like every week in races, so you know you're like good colleagues. Some of them are friends, but like most of them are just like good colleagues, you know. It's like hi and then stuff, you know.
Some small talk.
Some small talk, and some of them are like still friends. Some of them are like just, you know, like good colleagues.
Before we talk about your first pro contract, for the people who don't really know you, could you describe the type of rider you are?
Well, if people ask me that question, I always say like the same. I can do like everything, but I'm not good at anything, you know? I just can ride like pretty hard on everything, but like my sprint is not the best, my climbing is not the best, my time trial is not the best, but I can do like everything, but not like as the best guys, you know? So I think it's pretty handy, but it also kind of sucks because you can do everything, but you can't do anything actually. But it's also like handy because you can't do anything, so I think it's like, interesting for some teams or something.
It's not like when you aren't the best on the flat or in the hills that you can be a very good domestique within a team. Mm-hmm. So that could be an important role that you play in a squad as well. I
think that's something I need to like look forward to become like a good domestique, because like I said, I can like everything, so I can go to like a lot of races and do like a lot of stuff. And that's also like the reason like I'm writing to some teams like, oh yeah, I think I can be like British, or like I'm pretty sure I can be a good domestique. And it's also like something I actually really want to do. Like guys like Ilio Kese, like their career is like it's pretty big, and they're like super respected, and everyone's like, you know. So that's something like I really want to do, actually, just become like a good domestique. Because you get like a lot of, because I think it's better to be a good domestique than like a failed leader, you know.
I understand.
So future good domestique here in the Domestique Cycling Podcast. This can't fail. Ruben, in 2021 you joined Sport Flanders and Baloise.
Yep.
This season was your 3rd season at the team. What are the major lessons you learned at that team?
That's something Walter always say. You have to be more like a dickhead, you know. You have to like. Walter always said like we don't pay you to ride in the front. So if you're like in a break or something, like in a final, and bigger riders say like, oh yeah, you have to ride, you just say like, oh, I'm not getting paid for that. You know, like stuff like that, being like a little bit more smart, and like, you know, stuff like that. That's like the biggest lesson I've.
Is it often like that the bigger teams put pressure on guys like? Oh yeah. On guys of Sport Flanders Baloise because they are coming from a smaller team.
Yeah, but they're more like
right now.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, right, come on, and then it's like, yeah, I'm not getting paid for that, and I'm getting angry, but they're just like trying to use you so they can like drop you off or something.
Yeah.
The major lesson Walter taught you is that when you are too kind in the peloton, you won't get anywhere.
Basically, yeah.
I've heard some stories when being in the peloton that there's a kind of ranking who can ride at the front on row 2, on row 3, The guys of Sport Flanders Baloise often have trouble to get to the front. Is that true?
But that's kind of true. But that's just like the, it's especially like in big races because like all the big teams are riding in front with like as a team, so it's hard to get in like just as like one rider. But we also see like in point one races, if we're like with the bigger teams, then like small team like Conti teams or something, they're also riding in the back. So it's just like how it kind of is. It kind of sucks, but you know, it's just hard to fight yourself in like the first positions with like the big riders. But sometimes it's also like kind of fun if you have good legs, you're just riding in front, and everyone's like, oh yeah, fuck off. And then you're just like, la, 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 la. I'm staying here.
Do you have any regrets about joining the team?
No, because it's a pretty cool team. They gave like a lot of opportunities. They have a pretty good calendar. If you see like, I was like in the team like for 3 years, and then like almost all the big classics. I did Tour of Flanders, I did Liège 3 times, I did Roubaix.
Which one is your favorite?
As a race, I would say Roubaix, because also I did like Tour of Flanders when I was first year in 23. It was like also like a COVID edition, so we were riding on the Eau de Quaremont, but like people were not allowed on there. So it was pretty weird actually. You were riding on the Eau de Quaremont and you could hear yourself suffering. But like normally in the Ronde van Vlaanderen, like on Eau de Quaremont, like there are like tons of people. So
People were screaming, crazy.
And now you're riding there, you could hear like yourself shifting and yourself suffering. It was pretty weird. So, and that's like the only Tour of Flanders I did. So I don't really know how it is to ride Tour of Flanders in like a normal edition. But my favorite race, just as a race, I would say Liège, because it's just a super beautiful race. Just like the shitty roads but
So you aren't afraid of the longer climbs? In Belgium.
Yeah, in Belgium, because they're not super long, you know. Like I think the longest climb in Liège is like less than 10 minutes. They're pretty hard and steep, but it's not that long. But I just love the race there because it's like in the Ardennes. It's just super nice for riding there. But as a race, I would say Roubaix because it's so iconic. It's so epic. It's
In those World Tour races, how does the pre-race briefing go within Sport Flanders and Baloise? Is the first target is to get in the break with someone from the team most likely?
But to be honest, I think it's the tactic we have as a team. I think it also counts, I think, for like 80% of the riders. Yeah. Because like for most of the riders, actually, it's actually the best to go in like the early breakaway and try to survive as long as possible. Because to be honest, if like Wout van Aert or Pogacar or Van der Poel attacks, like only a few guys can follow. So for like most of the peloton, I think it's like the same briefing as us. Like try to go in the break, try to save energy, and just try to go as far as possible. Because if you do like a race of 260k, like after 200k, your body starts doing like really weird stuff.
It's about gaining experience in those races then.
Yeah, also, yeah.
How does it feel to try and get in the break? Like the wave, they start the race and then 80% of the riders want to be in the break.
It's super hectic. It's super, but also like getting in the break in the big races, especially as a small, like a member of a small team, it's easier there to get in the break than like in a smaller race because like big teams control the peloton and they're like, okay, 4 or 5 guys, smaller teams, and they just like block the peloton so you can ride away. Which in smaller races is most of the time like just like a gap that it forms, you know, and then but yeah, like a lot of riders try to go in the break, so it's like in the beginning like super hectic and you can see like, okay, those guys want to go in the break. It's just like kind of a riding style, like guys that really want to be in the break, they're like more nervous and they're like, you know, so you can see like, hey, that guy, okay, I have to try to follow them and then jump, and then because it's important that you jump at the right moment when there are like enough members of big teams try to block the peloton.
But do you think you have that feeling to find the right moment to join the breakaway to attack?
Oh.
Because there are certain riders like Thomas Gent, for instance, him of who everybody knows. Yeah, if he goes, there's a big chance.
Well, I don't ever like Thomas Gent with Taco van Hoorn because they really have like the thing, because they can also do like smaller races.
And that's something I like, not really struggling, but it's harder for me to get in like a break in like small races, because then you have to be like or super lucky or you just have to ride super fast. But like in super big races, I'm not gonna say it's easy, but it's easier to get in the break, especially if you're like a rider from a small team, because it's mostly happens off like 20 or 25 minutes, like not always, but on average. And you can just see like, okay, if you see like guys from Jumbo, from Bora, from Quickstep, then it's like, it's okay, now it's getting time. Like they're tired of it and they just want to block the peloton and let the breakaway go. So then you have to pay like a lot of attention, and then if you see some good riders, you just have to jump like full gas, because like this year was in the breakaway of Liège, but I did like my best 10 minutes ever there. So it's not always easy to get in the break, and it was also like after riding like for 10 minutes or something. So it was like
your best 10 minutes were to get into the break.
To get in the break, yeah, and also like with no warm up, you know, because you start in Liège and you have to get over a hill, and yeah, so you basically just start and the flag was down, it start, and then the breakaway goes, and then you just rode for like 10 or 15 minutes, so like you're basically totally no warmed up. And then I did like my best 10 minutes ever, which was pretty well, but to be honest, I got on top, and there was like a breakaway of I think like 5 or 6 guys, and then it was me with like another 4 or 5 guys, I think, and we had to close the gap. But to be honest, I was like on the top, my legs were so empty, because I just had to do like a super big effort to get to those 4 guys. And then I was just riding like, come on guys, just please take me, because I'm fucked.
Sport Flanders is known as the team who likes to give chances to young riders to develop. Do you feel after 3 years that you got enough of those chances?
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Or is there any race you think, damn, that's a pity I didn't get that chance to experience it?
I would have loved to do Belgium tour, because like I was born in Beveren, and like every year there's like a stage or a time trial or something like in Beveren. So it's also cool to do. It's always cool to do like a race in your hometown. Mm-hmm. But apart from that, I think I did like enough races like from like everything. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with like the races I did and like the chances like they give me.
I often get the feeling that the team of Sport Flanders and Baloise is one bunch of good friends. Did you experience it like that as well?
Well, we have like the benefit that everyone is from Flanders. So everyone is like the same culture, same language. Everyone understands each other, and like everyone understands like the same jokes, which is important, because if there's like something super funny from like in Flanders and you try to explain it to like someone from Italy or something, they would be like, what the fuck are you saying, you know?
And maybe age plays a role as well.
Yeah, because you're like all interested in like the same stuff, you listen to almost the same music or same kind, you know? So that plays a big role in like the friend thing. But in the other hand, it's also like a bunch of young guys that want to go like and take the next step in their career. So
does that make it a little competitive as well?
Yeah. It's like everyone get along really well with each other, but it's also like super competitive, you know? Yeah. Because everyone wants to take and grab their chance to go to a bigger team or like the next step in their career. So it's still like sports at the highest level, you know? It's not like a bunch of friends that made like their own jerseys and go riding on a Sunday and have like a beer after, you know?
Yeah, in the end, it's all for himself.
Yeah, but I think it's also like in every team. You know, like in the end, it's still, you know, you have to fight for your own contract. Like, you know.
Right. When you signed your first contract back in 2021, for how many years did you sign?
First contract is always for like 2 years. That's UCI rule. If you sign a Neo, it's always for 2 years.
So, you've had one contract renewal then last year?
Yeah.
How did that go? Was that easy or?
Well, like the contract renewals in our team, it's kind of easy because like all the contracts are the same, and it's just always for like 1 year. So like your first contract is 2 years, and it's always like 1 year, another year, until you like they don't want you anymore, like what happened with me, or you can go to another team. And it's like everyone in our team earns the same amount of money, or at least that's what they told me.
So one contract renewal at the end of 2022. Did you get offers from other teams at that point?
At that point, no, because like I say, it was like Corona, and I didn't do like a lot of racing like the last 2 years before that. So, and also like before I signed, like a year before I broke my leg. So, like to be honest, if you're like a team manager, I don't think you would make like a guy turning pro that just broke his leg like the year before. So like, yeah, the only team that was like interested in signing was Team Flanders, like Sport Flanders back then. I had some like conversations with other teams, but they were all like the same, like, oh yeah, we can't really take the risk because yeah, I broke my leg the year before, which I understand, but it's also kind of annoying. So that, yeah, back then Team Flanders was actually the only team that wanted to make me pro or like want to take the risk.
And during those 3 years as Sport Flanders, you never received another offer from another team?
Well, last year I had like some talks with some other teams, but in the end we're like, oh yeah, maybe just wait for another year. And like,
do you regret that decision now?
No, because they didn't give me like a contract or something, you know. There were like some conversations, but they were all like the same, like, oh yeah, just grow an extra year with your current team.
Yeah, it never got to the point. It never got to the point.
No.
All right. Now we're here at the end of 2023, when renewing at Sport Flanders is not an option for you, for the team. Did they give you a reason why?
Not really, because like they called me and they were like, oh yeah, Ruben, how are you doing? It's like, oh yeah, well, I'm pretty tired because I was in breakaway last like yesterday, because it was the day after Hoek-Chapelle, but I was like riding in front of the peloton for a whole day, and then yeah, pretty hard race. I was like, yeah, I'm a bit tired. He's like, oh yeah, we saw that. But what I'm actually calling for, like we sat together and we had a talk, and we're not going to renew your contract for next year. And I was like, oh, well, it's your decision, it's okay. But like, what's the reason? And they were like, oh yeah, we expected more from you in the last 3 years. And that was almost like, okay. So it was like a call from like less than 1 minute. And I was like, okay.
Less than a minute?
Yeah, that was it. It was like less than a minute.
And you never heard them back, or they never called you again with an explanation, or it's just that 1 minute, it's over, we're not renewing?
Yeah, it was basically that. But then also like in the evening, I call like Walters, like the.
I was like, oh yeah, Walter, I got the news from.
That's Walter Plankart, for the listeners who don't know it.
Yeah. And I was like, oh yeah, I got the news that they like not gonna renew my contract. But I just want to say thank you for like that I could start my career like with you, because you know I respect you a lot. And then it was like, oh yeah, I know, but I don't really have to say anything in this team because I'm getting old, you know, and I'm gonna quit like the job I do now. So it's more decision from the other guys now in the team. But if it was from me, I would really like keep you in the team. But like my voice is not as strong anymore as like years ago. So it's more a decision of like the current management now, instead of like because Walter also like Walter's also the reason I got in the team.
Yeah, but that's quite surprising because Walter Plankart is kind of an icon within the team. He's known for his experience.
Yep, indeed. But yeah, I think he's like 75 or... Yeah, 75 is good, yeah. So it's like, I can't do this forever, so I'm taking a step back. So like that kind of decision is not my problem anymore. It's like the job of the rest of the management.
But the way I hear it now, you still get along pretty well with Walter Plankart.
Oh yeah, Walter, he has a special place in my heart. But like, I have like so much respect for Walter because he's just like a super honest guy, If you're a bad cyclist, he would just say it in your face like you're just not strong enough, This is not something for you. Walter is just he's like that much experience, and he just knows what he's doing because he's already in the business for like his whole life.
But isn't it frustrating for you then, knowing that if Walter was 10 years younger and you were in the team back then, 10 years ago, knowing that at that situation you would still be in the team because Walter still had a big influence?
Yeah, but also, that's true. But also on the other hand, like maybe it's not the best to stay in a team if you don't really get along with like the other DS, because then it's also not that much fun, and it also doesn't really help like for you to get better, or to grow.
So you got that call that they wouldn't renew your contract, and how did it feel for you to race after that for Sport Vlaanderen? It was like you knew it's done, and then you had to write for a new contract for another team?
Oh, well, it didn't really feel like special or like frustrating or something, because also I didn't really like the stress anymore about like, to say like super crew, like listen to the team anymore, because they were like, oh yeah, they threw me out, so I can basically do whatever I want now, as long as I don't like do something stupid or something, or like, so that was kind of nice to just race with no stress, and just because also the thing is I just really love racing my bike or riding my bike, so it was basically just doing the same, but then without like having someone on your shoulder like, oh yeah, you have to do this now and this and this. It was just like, oh well, I don't give a fuck anymore.
I have to be honest, if they would call me like that, 1 minute say it's over, I would be quite mad. And it's a harsh way to end 3 years of working together, and yeah.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, but it's also like already frustrations with like this one DS for like 2 years already, so I kind of saw it coming,
But when they say on the phone, we expected more from you the past 3 years. Does that mean
No,
after 1.5 years, they said, Ruben, we expect more of you, or we won't renew your contract? Or was that the first time they said, you're not good enough?
That's basically the first time they said it, but it's just more like to give it a reason to cover up like another reason,
And it's quite funny to hear because they renewed after 2 years. They gave you a contract on another year. So they were happy about your first 2 years.
And then they say it wasn't good enough in general for those 2 years.
But like the years before, I had like the voice of Walter behind me. It was like my kind of protecting angel, and now I don't have like my protecting angel anymore. So it's like decision of like the other DS, and I already have like frustrations, me and him, like for the last 2 years. So that's.
But why? I don't understand how the frustration can grow. Like you had a lot of bad luck during your career, already starting with Lotto Soudal, U21, then illnesses, crashes, etc. But you did perform quite well for a team. You got into break. You gave the team exposure. So it's quite rude to still say it wasn't good enough, knowing you're right in Sport Vlaanderen. So results aren't the most important thing within that team. So.
Yeah, but it was also funny because after that call, I think like all my races I was like or the first finisher of the team or like the second finisher of the team. So every time I got on the bus, didn't do good enough. And I just saw the face and I was like,
did you say that?
Yeah, but I said mostly to Soigneurs, I'm like, yeah, Patje, Ruben's not good enough. So I was like, I felt kind of like a king after. I was like, yeah, Ruben's not good enough. Finished first of the team.
When did you get that phone call through the season? Was it
It was the day after the Expels, which was, I think now like
2 weeks ago? You were on the phone for 1 minute. Less than a minute. Conversations is done. What was the first thing you did or thought? You bastards.
No, but the thing is, I kind of saw it coming because I knew Walter was getting out of like the game, so I was like, oh well, this can be a really tricky situation for me. So I was already like trying to get a backup plan, but everything was like kind of on hold because I didn't really have like an answer. Can I stay with the team? Can I not? So like from that moment, I was like, okay, I'm free as a bird now. I can do whatever the fuck I want. So would you give me like a big opportunity to start like working on the things that I already like wrote down or something, which was, it kind of gave me like a feeling of freedom. I was like, okay, I can do whatever I want now. I can work out my plans. I can call to other teams without having stress, you know, like, oh yeah, can I come? But I have to sign like on Friday. So do you have like, you know, so I'm like still free now, which also give me like,
You can try to restart your career. Like the 3 years with Sport Vlaanderen, okay, that's over. It's a pity they don't renew. It's time for a new chapter in my
because also like,
career.
I'm like strongly like sometimes things end with a reason to start something new. It doesn't mean like I don't have like a contract with Sport Vlaanderen anymore next year. Like they didn't renew it. That it has to be the end of like something. So maybe it's like the start of maybe something even better, or like, you know, maybe it's not in cycling or like as a pro racer, but maybe it's like something else. Because I think it's like it must have like a reason to start something new or give me like new opportunities or something.
It's a very strong quote.
What you just said, it's like, and it's
Printed out.
it explains it explains it all actually. Like, if you not even get into pro cycling anymore or riding as a pro rider.
Yeah, because also like life is much more than just racing your bike. Because like back in 2019, I had like a big crash, got in the hospital and stuff. So I got out of like the circle of cycling and everything for months. Which where most of the bike racers, they're like in this circle for like their whole life and they don't really get out of it, so they don't really know what's out of it, you know. And I got out of it for like months, so I can't experience what life is if you're not racing your bike. So which also I think gave me like the benefit of like thinking the way I do now, like, okay, I don't have a contract for next year still. What can I do? You know?
What was the first feeling that popped up into your head? Was it rather, damn, I gotta find a new team as soon as possible? Or was it, okay, if I don't have a team next season, it means cycling is done for me, but I'm okay with that?
Well, just after the call, I was like sitting on my sofa. I was like, oh, I'm pretty fucked because of the race the day before. And then after the call, I was like, oh, well, let's start working on another plan now. So, but just I start like writing some stuff down, start to call people, and you know, I didn't like after the call, I wasn't like, oh fuck, I don't have a contract. Oh. So I just start like trying to find something new and
let's go for it. Just
see what it. Don't waste time and just let's go for it and like see what's going to happen.
Yeah. So to be clear, now it's still your goal to find a new team for 2024.
That's still the goal. But I'm also like I'm working on some other projects for next year. So like there's a pretty big chance that I'm still gonna be a cyclist next year. But at the moment I just don't know like how it's gonna be. Is it gonna be with big tires? Is it gonna be with a gravel bike? Is it gonna be a race bike? Is it gonna be with a bike fully packed with luggage and stuff? Am I gonna...
It's kind of funny because since you walked in here, the past 30 minutes, I think gravel racing That's the new thing, and you seem like kind of a rock and roll guy to me. Courts fit in that world perfectly.
Oh, well, you're not the first person that says that, so maybe I should start believing it.
Maybe you should.
Yeah, but also like the gravel scene is just a scene that really interests me because there are like a lot of cool people in there, like a lot of interesting people. So it's also something that I really want to do, to be honest. So yeah, like I have some options at the moment, and it's getting better by day. But at the moment, like I'm not sure what's going to happen, and also there's like nothing signed at the moment or something. So basically, at the moment, I don't have anything for next year, but I'm working on some stuff.
I'm sure you will have something.
Well, you're never sure until like you sign something. So I'm never sure because I still have to keep working and, you know, keep informing and keep calling people. So that's what I'm working already on for like last 3 weeks, I think. So I'm like professional bike racer / businessman.
But when a pro team approaches you with a contract, you're not gonna doubt about signing it. It's a pro Conti / World Tour team.
Well, it depends on how the contract is, and because, well, it's not if someone is like, here a contract, I'm gonna be like, they're like, okay, I'm gonna sign it. Like, I just want to know like what they want to do with me, what the story, why do they want me in the team? Because I think that's like super important. Like, why does someone want you in the team? For like which role, which reason? Because yeah, I just really want like being functional in a team, you know, and not just be like, oh yeah, here's the bike, here's a contract, and
You want them to have a strategy with you.
Yeah.
Right. Did you already talk with a lot of teams the past weeks?
Well, I had some phone calls with some DSs. But that's basically like not team management stuff, but also like I said, like all the team managers are like watching what's happening now with Jumbo and Quickstep, so they're like too busy with other stuff. But yeah, so I had some phone calls with some DSs and like some messages with DSs. So like I said, like a lot is happening at the moment, but also nothing is happening at the moment.
I talked to a friend of yours last week. I told him you were joining the podcast because you didn't find a new team. And the first thing he said is, well, why doesn't he try to join to the Tietema? That would be perfect for him.
Oh yeah, but I called Bas, I think like last week. Yeah, and I gonna try to have like a chat with him like in the next week or next 2 weeks, because they're also like pretty busy with like forming their team for next year, because they also said like, oh yeah, it's pretty new thing for us, because like everything is growing so fast, because yeah, they started with a YouTube channel I think like 2 years ago, just like, oh yeah, we're gonna do a tour of Flanders and it's gonna be wild, and now they're starting like a pro team. So in like some years it's pretty wild actually, if you see like how they start and where they are now. So you're also like trying to see what's gonna happen, but like I'm normally gonna have like a chat with them like next week or the week after.
Yeah,
hopefully.
I followed their story already from the Tour of Flanders they rode, and then the Conti team they started.
Yeah, it's pretty wild if you see
It's
it.
funny content as well, and they give us a look behind how it is in the peloton, how it is in cycling, and not the ordinary.
Yeah, and that's pretty cool because you can see like what it is to be in a pro cycling team. Because like with most teams, you just see like, okay, a rider's getting out of a bus, they take their bike and they go to the start, and then you see the race, and that's basically it.
And you see the person behind the rider as well. It's like you
Yeah.
have the pro cyclist Ruben, but you have the person Ruben as well,
Yeah.
and they aren't always the same.
Yeah, and that's like super interesting. So I hope like more pro teams would follow them to start also like YouTube channels or something, and to just show like what's behind the team, because it's super interesting to see like, if you see like Yves is also doing a bit like that, it's just super cool to see like what's happening behind everything. Like how do they work? How are those people in the team? Like who is doing what and like everything, you know, it's like super interesting to see. So
the project and way of content creating is something that interests you, or
oh yeah, a lot. Because I also really like to show what it is to be a pro cyclist to the world. Because like from time to time, I just take my GoPro with me on training rides, but I don't really post like stuff about it because my like Team Flanders didn't really like it if I did stuff like that. So like for the last year, I kind of like stopped doing it because I was gonna like shit him. It was like, oh, what are you doing with that camera again, dude?
But you can start it back again right now.
Yeah, because now like free as a bird. So
Just start the YouTube channel, gain some followers, and you can.
or you go on a training ride, you show a bus. Look at this.
I can vlog as well. Let's go.
No, but it's a good thing you didn't say no immediately on the phone.
yeah, it was like it wasn't a yes, but it also wasn't a no.
So that leaves a door open for discussion, etc.
Yeah, it would be cool to be honest to write for them. Definitely. So Buzz, if you're listening, sign me up, bitch.
These days, all people talk about is the merger between Jumbo-Visma and Soudal Quickstep. How bad is that merger for someone in your situation?
Not only for me, but it's bad for a lot of people. Because just imagine, like, well, it's like at this point, it's not really like a merge. It's more like Jumbo is taking.
Yeah, it's a takeover.
It's takeover. It's not really a merge. It's takeover. So like a lot of riders, a lot of staff will like end up on the street. But it's all like super talented people. Like not only the riders, but like the staff, like the mechanics. It's just not like Jan met the pets on the street. You know, they're like all super talented. They're all professionals in their own thing. So that means like a lot of talent is just like going on the street.
But there were so much rumors about it. Like it leaked 2 weeks ago, if I recall correctly, that they would merge at that time. Soudal would go over, Jumbo would leave. Then everybody knew. We didn't know what would happen with Remco Evenepoel. He's one of the main topics as well. And then yesterday or the day before, Patrick Lefevre talks about the rescue team.
Yeah, so like
the staff and squad, only 6 riders can go to Jumbo-Visma.
Yeah.
So
it's crazy. But also the other end, like the people from Quickstep itself, they just don't know what's happening. So like even like riders that still are on contract for like the next years, they just don't know what's happening.
yeah, I saw
It's just big chaos and just
some interviews with Lampard after Bench, saying he didn't know a thing. He even didn't know the team days were cancelled. They cancelled the team days, so it's very rude towards staff, riders, everything involved, that they don't know a thing. Like you don't have to explain the whole story because they probably don't know themselves at this point. But still, let them. Do they have to look for another team?
Yeah,
they
it's
don't.
also like a pretty annoying time of the year because it's October. Like the deadlines of getting a team for the UCI, it's like, yeah,
17th of October.
Yeah, it's 15.
yeah. Maybe the UCI will be like, oh yeah, we can like delay it a little bit, but you know they can't wait until like February 24. You know, because it has to be done with like this and like one. But just imagine to be Patrick Lefevre and have to find like some millions to make a rescue team or something. You know, it's not like going to like your local butcher and like, oh yeah, we need like €100 for a local, you know, yeah.
There are quite a lot of World Tour teams and pro teams that keeping some spots open, like they have 27 or 28 riders on their roster, just to grab some of that Quickstep riders if it happens. So that has to be quite annoying for.
Yeah, and that's what's happening with me. Like, is like every team I call or if like phone call, they're like, oh yeah, we also don't really know what's happening, or we stopped at the moment to make transfers because we're waiting what's going to happen.
You have the feeling they're just waiting a little to have more information about that merger.
Yeah, because like all of the teams are like waiting. Maybe they can buy like or get like a super cheap, super good rider. But also like on the other hand, you can't blame them because if you can get Lampard for like almost zero money, or you have to pay me, you know, you will always pick me.
Lampard can't make that flop.
Take this, Lumpy. No, but like, to be honest, like, if you can choose between Lampard or me, you always would choose like Lampard, you know. So that's kind of like for riders like me, but also like it's not only like I'm not the only one in this situation, because Black Spoke is gonna stop. You and Parrelt the same, and like a lot of riders in those teams or riders like me, you know, they're like good in everything, but not like, you know. So I'm not the only one at the moment in this situation. So it's for a lot of riders like just a big mess.
But this creates such an unbalance on the transfer market, because it's a big waiting game right now. Jumbo-Visma or Soudal-Visma is trying to get their file done to hand it over to UCI. Then you have Roglic to Bora. It's not confirmed yet, but probably is. And then it's all going to start in 2 or 3 days even, and then everything has to happen.
I think it's going to be like, now it's just like radio science, you know, like no one knows what's going to happen. And I think at one point it's going to be such a rush for like a few days to like get in time for the deadlines and stuff. So I think like within a week or something, it's going to be like...
All right. Ruben, as a conclusion, maybe the most difficult question of this episode. Why should a team or Bas Tietema take you instead of another rider without a contract for next season?
Because I'm cool.
And he can vlog.
Yeah, boy. No, because I think I can be like very interesting for like big teams. Because like I said before, like a role like Ilio Keese did, I think... No, actually, I'm pretty sure I would fit like perfectly in a role like that. Because I also really love to help other riders to go for the victory. Because like it's a really big return if you help someone for like a victory or something. It's just a super nice feeling. And it's also like a role I would like really love to do. It's not because like, oh yeah, that's like the only reason I can find a team is to become a domestique. But I think it's like I'm just like made to be a domestique. Some guys are made to climb mountains. Some guys are made to sprint. And I think I'm made for to be a domestique. And also it just sounds super cool. Like, oh yeah, I'm domestique. You know, it sounds cool.
Look at that head.
Oh yeah. But it just sounds cool, you know? Like if you can say like, just imagine you did a career until like you're 35, and after your career start talking to people and they're like, oh yeah, what did you do? It's like, oh yeah, I was domestique for Wout van Aert, was domestique for...
And he won that race when I was working for him.
Yeah, and I was part of that big victory. That's crazy.
You're just part of a winning team.
Yeah, I think that's like super cool. So that's also like something I like really want to do, and I think I'm just like good at it also.
All right, Ruben, we'll make you that domestique, hopefully. Anyway, thanks for joining our podcast episode today. We're really hoping to see you back in the peloton and next season, or anywhere in the gravels.
Just on a bike.
Yves, it's all yours.
That's a wrap for today's Domestique Cycling Podcast. A big thank you to our audience for tuning in, and Ruben, of course, for being here. If you enjoyed the episode, consider supporting us on Ko-Fi. Link is in the description. And if you're on YouTube, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We appreciate your support and look forward to seeing you next time. See you later.
I've got the spores, the sickness. There's the twins in my brain.